am very excited to introduce my next guest. He is an entrepreneur, product innovator, and intuitive. We're going to get into the wellness industry and spirituality in the current climate of COVID-19. Please welcome Noah Berman. Hi, Noah.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. It's great. As good as it can be. How are you?
Good. Enjoying my COVID-19 staycation all day, every day.
Nice.
Mhm.
Groundhog Day?
What's that?
Groundhog Day.
It's every day is another level of illumination that, has some similar elements from the day before.
I love it. Well, I always begin the conversation with the question, what do you believe?
I believe that, just as quickly as things shifted into a contracted energy state, they can shift into an expanded energy state in ways that we don't expect and can surprise us. And that I've experienced what I consider miracles and that they're possible.
I love that. So when you say contract, are we in a contracted energy state currently?
I think I perceive it as such. I think I don't want to judge it, but I think that there's tangible evidence that would say yes, we are, because in terms of our financial health, our emotional health, different spheres of consciousness, people do not seem to be doing as well as they were before, right? I mean, I think that it's a way to reconcile and look at ourselves more, and I see a lot of light coming out of it, but in the moment, it is quite painful and confronting for a number of individuals.
Yeah, it is. I agree, and there's good and bad that's coming out of this. It's trying to keep positive every day, and I'm really loving being my own best friend, but even that has its challenges sometimes because it can get very lonely.
Yeah.
As we both are in our places. You're in Los Angeles, I'm in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully we have Skype.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, during this time of COVID, wellness, as you being in the wellness industry, is more important than ever. Mm-hmm. Before we even get into the science of supplements and what we should be putting into our bodies, I'm just curious what this time means for wellness in general, and what do you see the wellness industry adjusting and changing to?
I think that people are understanding wellness from a broader lens, and that every area of our life really relates to it, right? So our financial health, our relationships really inform our well-being, and our emotional health, which really informs our physical health. So I think that people are seeing how that all relates, not just on an individual level, but also on a macro level, and how the individual can relate to the whole. So if we look at where we're really suffering, it has to do in many ways with our medical system and how it's structured, and with our financial system and how that's structured, that actually not making a certain level of collective well-being a priority has harmed us as individuals. And I feel that we are being shown a very clear portrayal of that, which presents a call to action if we choose to answer the call.
So a call to action would look like what?
I think that every person making choices to come from a more inclusive and sharing place, so that we can reshape and shift society after this.
Okay. I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, you're right. I mean, wellness is not just for a certain group of people, and either is healthcare, and either is all of that. And you're right. It should be universal, and it should be, accessible to every single person.
I mean, there's an argument that a lack of access to medicine in a way is a form of eugenics, right? Because if you look at the latest research, poverty, even in one generation, can affect gene expression, what's called our epigenetics, and how genes turn on or off. So if being in a state of poverty is affecting your genes, you're basically not providing medical care to someone based on their genetic information, which is highly controversial.
Yes. Wow. So with your company, Higher Mind, what are you doing to sort of, I mean, talk to me about how you're, what's your stance on what you said, having a wellness company?
I think that that's really where we're differentiated in terms of how we operate in our ethos, and that other businesses in the space, especially around brain health, are very performance driven and where it provides for you as an individual. And I really think the value offer for us is how transforming yourself as an individual helps transform the whole, which has some kind of intrinsic reward. So we really want to focus on our messaging and content around that and provide ways digitally for people to feel like they're able to connect as well as offline when that becomes a possibility again. But I think that why you do what you do informs how you do what you do. So I think for us, our intention around it comes from a really authentic place. I got into the space because I had health issues and lost 100 pounds, and really derived a lot of joy and meaning out of working with people on their health, because it feels like it's a way to keep what I have to share it. And I feel that my partners as well are just very benevolent and loving people that want to do good in the world, and that we found a way to, which I'm really grateful for. And I think it just comes down to like your intention will, with the right execution, will inform the expression of it. And I think that we had a lot of learnings with our pilot that's really informing the formal launch in a way we're really excited about, that is more relevant to what's going on, because we are moving into powdered products, which just makes it so much more accessible and affordable, viable for people, because that, we to really reflect what we believe in, the product was too expensive for most people to use consistently, and that didn't feel right.
That's incredible. So for people who don't know, you have a company called Higher Mind Life.
Yeah.
And tell us kind of like the short bit about it, just in terms of what your ethos is. I mean, you explained a bit about it, but in terms of, it's not just brain health, it's a holistic approach to wellness.
Yeah. And I think, the brain really informs our whole experience in our body. And all our organ systems are very interrelated. So we really looking at other kind of subcategories in wellness that it connects to, that we feel are relevant and people are needing, is immune health and mood. And so it's kind of an angle of how supporting mood, brain health can inform your mood ultimately, right? Because certain levels of inflammation or ill health can affect how you feel ultimately. And then with immunity, the brain actually has its own immune system that helps inform, interconnect, and regulate with our body's immune system. And finding ways to support and nourish that, we felt was really important. So we have, an expanded assortment of multiple types of options that we're coming out with, as well as magnesium. We thought that magnesium was such a great ingredient that almost all of us could get more of, that we noticed a real difference when people were doing kind of a magnesium brain fuel product that has magnesium and one other ingredient that is naturally in the brain to really help people kind of get everything they need.
That's great. I take magnesium every day. I think it's great, and I take it in gummies. And I've also tried your powder products, which you sent to me. Thank you so much. And I tried the turmeric latte in my oatmeal, which was amazing. And I tried the matcha latte, and I have a few other, which was great too, in oat milk. I warmed up the oat milk, and that was so good. And I'm going to try the other ones that you sent me, but so far it's like awesome, and I can't wait for these to hit. When is it going to come? When is it hitting stores? When can we buy it?
I mean, I would suspect probably about 6 weeks, 8 weeks at most, because we're just, finalizing contracts with the manufacturer now.
Yeah.
Those formulas are pretty much done.
Right.
Yeah.
Super excited. So through your, you mentioned earlier, how you, got into wellness and because you had an autoimmune disease. I think I remember about you telling me this before, that you were overweight and you got into wellness, and that sort of informed your journey. I mean, I'm just curious, like in terms of, because it can be kind of confusing, because I think for young people, not everyone can be a vegan, not everyone can be, a very strict certain diet. So do you think like the wellness industry should be sort of informing younger people that, what's good for them may not be good for the rest of the generation? I mean, what do you see? What's your viewpoint on that? Because you were young and you changed your diet at a very young age, and I'm just curious what your point of view is.
I think, I have a very mixed relationship with veganism, because I really think that that's how I lost 100 pounds. And I think that it really transformed my health. And I think I was having way too much animal product, which was really inflammatory. And because it worked so well for me, I stayed on it for a really long time, like over a decade. And I didn't really gain the weight back. I would fluctuate a little bit here and there, but kept off 100 pounds. The reality was I was so afraid to try anything else because that worked for me and it's all I knew. But I was developing health issues, especially toward the end of it, where I just wasn't really holding on to muscle mass. I was very tired. I had a lot of cavities, and almost everyone, when I started having animal product, was like, you look better. I felt so much better. I had such low iron levels, different things. And, if you look at just like our diet and what you can and can't get from a vegan diet, there are certain things you actually cannot get from a vegan diet. Iron you can get, but it's very hard to get. You have to eat like bags of kale every day type thing to really get what's required. And it's not as readily absorbable in certain people genetically. It's very hard to absorb from plants. And then B12 you simply cannot get from a vegan diet. Even foods like moringa and spirulina that have it, they don't actually lower the biomarkers that show that we're absorbing it, which are called MMA or methylmalonic acid levels. So there's no plant-based option that's proven to have B12. And then also there are several amino acids that are considered non-essential, but are still indicated for brain health, that you can only get through animal products. Like creatine is one, carnosine is another. Carnitine is very hard, or not almost impossible to get from a plant-based diet. So these types of things that really help with muscle health, brain health, dopamine production. We still need animal products. Now, I think that having too much animal product, especially poor quality or a lot of red meat, is really indicated in heart disease and aging process, inflammation. I really think we don't need that much, and we don't need it every meal or even necessarily every day. But I do think that we definitely evolved the omnivores, and to completely eliminate it long term can create a lot of health issues, especially without very careful supplementation.
I agree. And that worries me about younger people.
Yeah.
Thinking that a vegan diet is, of course, they for whatever reason you're vegan, whether it's you're against cruelty of animals or you just don't like the taste of it. But
I don't think most people like really want animals to suffer. I don't think most people are thinking about wanting animals to suffer. I think people are eating meat for other reasons, cultural, how they grew up, they like the taste, they feel a certain way, whatever it is. And the reality is, as a society, we're eating way too much meat. And it's bad for our health, and it's terrible for the environment. So there's a huge pendulum and a huge push in the other direction, where we just have a very strong force of influential people in media and finance who have really helped shepherd in and push more awareness around plant-based lifestyle, which I think overall has done more good than harm, but has also created harm, because a lot of people are diving all into completely plant-based in a way that are creating health issues. And I don't think people are understanding that, the implications of it, or people are maybe holding on to a fully vegan diet based on their moral standpoint, as opposed to what's best for their physical body. And I think there are ways to be more conscious and more ethical and buy the best quality available, and still do what's right for you. And it doesn't mean you need to use a lot of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I didn't have a great experience when I was vegan. So I speak to that as someone who has tried, and it did not go well for me. I got very
What happens also as a vegan diet, it's very hard not to go toward a lot of grains. You can do it. I've done like a pretty much grain-free vegan diet, but like grains are a really great protein source.
right.
But they also can interfere with like managing blood sugar levels. So that's one of the things that's hard about it. It's like you can end up having a lot of grains. I mean, I've seen so many people, I'm gluten-free because I have to be, but I've seen so many people, they pig out in gluten-free pasta all the time, which is kind of the same thing. But I've seen so many people who are like vegans that are just like eating mac and cheese with, tapioca cheese all day. And it's like, that's not really working out. That's not like a healthy diet.
No.
It's not in any way.
No, not at all. Mac and cheese, I mean, every day. No way. Wow. Well, okay. So just if you're going to be vegan responsibly.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. You can, I have plenty of people I know and love who've done decades of a completely vegan diet. Just supplement in the proper way.
That's what I mean by responsibly. Exactly. Just know the right supplements to take care of your body.
Order, good quality B12, not a pill. Get a dissolvable one under the tongue so it crosses blood-brain barrier more easily. And order creatine and carnosine, and probably, try to get a good, what's called chelated iron.
Okay. This was
CHELATE.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I would love to sort of get into the more spiritual side of things, and I'm curious what your take is in the current time of COVID. People, if people are not getting something out of this and learning something, I don't know. What's your take on why this is happening, and where do we go from here?
I mean, I don't necessarily feel like we were headed in like the best direction before this happened, because our values were not in the right place as a society. Is reality. I just think we were mostly focused on consumerism, right? And ultimately already isolated in a lot of ways. And I can't say, I think it would be a great amount of hubris to say that I understand or know exactly why something's happening where so many people are suffering and dying, and want to be really sensitive about that, because it's easy for me to sit here and be like, everything's happening for a reason. But like, if someone's watching this at home and their mom died, that, it's hard to feel like there's reason. I think that ultimately this is a classroom, and that it's a very temporary energy state, and that we learn what we need to while we're here for a period of time. It's an opportunity for a lot of people, who are transitioning to pass, if they feel like on a spiritual level they've learned what they've needed to on this plane, is kind of how I see it. I do think spiritually things are a choice, and on some level, like, if people are moving through, that there's a spiritual reason why. And I think that, we'll probably sustain life on the human planet for longer, because a human life on the planet for longer because of reduction of pollution and burning of fossil fuels with coronavirus. So I think that in other ways, it's helping create balance and harmony, redefining our values, deepening self-intimacy, moving out of a sense of needing or lacking others and more of a sense of what you have to give and fill others with, right? Focusing more on solution-oriented things. I think that business and professionally, things that aren't focused on people's pain in a way that's poignant and relevant to coronavirus is not going to be well received. I think the last thing most people want is to be marketed to in a traditional way right now because it feels alien.
Yeah.
I think if you have $1 billion in the bank, you wouldn't be buying Louis Vuittons right now. It's simply because it's a Reeve Goshen away. It feels out of touch. It's not with the times.
Yes.
You want to feel connected to the people. And when you have 20+ million people out of jobs already, how do you feel like you're in the pulse of that and your heart's with it, right?
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I definitely feel sometimes the weight of all of the worry and the hardship and what this planet is going through and the people. I mean, it's overwhelming. And you're right. I mean, how are we sensitive to that and yet still, have a business?
I don't have an answer other than that businesses need to iterate and evolve and be able to adapt and change to these types of things, but that the businesses that really are going to see are ones that are focused on giving back and helping others, or that are essential for a period of time, because this is a situation that is ongoing. It's not ending anytime soon.
Right.
Obviously not, because we don't have a vaccine and it's highly contagious. Just because we're not quarantining, like, a month from now doesn't mean that this thing's going away. Like, it's not.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's a new way. It's a new way of living.
Even when we have a vaccine that's like widespread and mandatory, like, I think that will make things, more palatable, and that will be able to work within and operate in cities in a way that's more integrated. But, I think that pushing a vaccine to market that fast also has ethical issues, and that we don't really know the side effects long term if you're getting it out that fast. And I think that having a gap for that long in society, people will adapt in a way that informs culture indefinitely. Once you have a whole year of kids going to school remotely, it could be, once coronavirus is tamed, that kids are always going to school remotely, or that they get the choice to do it one day a week or whatever. We don't really know, because people are so used to living that way they can't integrate fully, or there's actually a reduction in our cost savings to have more remote work. So I think certainly companies and even the way we educate and learn may change, which means, pros and cons for different people depending on how their life is structured and what they're living in.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Right. Wow. A lot to think about. Thank you, Noah. This was incredibly enlightening. I really appreciate your time.
Of course. Well, namaste.
Namaste.
Peace be upon you. I appreciate you having me and sending you positive energy.
Thank you. Likewise.